Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk a little bit about the banks, regulations, a little bit of everything. But I want to start with this. In yesterday's video, I said XRP was pumping. It was up there around 49 cents at the time I made that video. Since then, it has pulled back, but I'm surprised it hasn't pulled back as much as people thought. People were calling for a 30-cent XRP. I've seen people calling for it to go as low as 26 cents. Then all of a sudden it bursts back up. But it's holding above 40 cents right now. And that's even after the Fed raised interest rates by 25 BPS. And it looks like they're going to continue to do that. So Fed Chair Jerome Powell says officials don't see rate cuts this year. Following the vital decision of the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates by another 25 BPS, Fed Chair Jerome Powell says officials don't see rate cuts this year. Moreover, the statements following Powell's assured commitment to inflation to reach the Fed's 2% target. Honestly, I don't believe we're ever going to see a 2% inflation. I believe the numbers that they're pushing on mainstream media news aren't even accurate at this point. We still see gas going up in price. We see food going up in price. And if it's not going up, we're getting shrinkflation, where everything shrinks down, but the price stays the same. Their crypto crackdown will cost other banks and their customers. As usual, financial regulators shoot first and make others pay later. Coindesk reported last week that crypto firms were looking for bank accounts offshore, such as FV Bank in Puerto Rico, Jewel Bank in the Bermuda, and Tether and FTX tied Deltec in the Bahamas. Moving dollar deposits of U.S. crypto companies and their customers offshore will make them less safe and potentially more vulnerable to money laundering. So while these politicians are pushing anti-money laundering around crypto, they're pushing crypto right out of the country. And no bank wants to touch crypto either. Crypto banking in the U.S. has faltered, leaving many firms looking for new financial homes. But none of the major U.S. banks, each of them questioned by Coindesk, is throwing open its doors. So while the banks don't want to touch crypto because of the narrative that they're pushing, how crypto is so volatile and it's so unsafe and it's the worst investment you can ever make, it pushes any retail investor that ever thought about getting into crypto away all of a sudden. You talk to people outside of crypto, the first thing they say, isn't crypto finished now that those banks collapsed? Absolutely not. Me and you, we're in crypto. So we try to get as many of our friends and family into crypto, but none of them want to touch it at a time like this because they turn on the mainstream media news and all they get is that narrative that crypto's no good. Following West financial sanctions on Russia, Indonesia to phase out Visa and MasterCard reduce dependency on the West payment systems. So Indonesia is getting away from Visa and MasterCard because they don't want the sanctions like we've seen get put on Russia. And other companies are doing the same thing. They don't want to live under the US dollar no more. That's why BRICS is getting so much more powerful as time goes on. Nobody wants to deal with the U.S. That's what it's coming down to. You have the president putting sanctions on this country and that country, weaponizing the U.S. dollar. Then you have politicians pushing the narrative that crypto's no good and you need to get away from crypto. All at the same time, they're pushing innovation right out of the U.S. Somebody needs to do something before it's too late. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the economy is performing very well. How many of you honestly believe that? Because I think the economy's in rough shape. But she goes on to say, Janet Yellen is selling bank crisis short as execs fear dozens more teeter on the brink. Now, we know they're teetering. And we know that a lot of banks could possibly fall at any moment. But yet she's out there selling a narrative, again, that the bank's safe. Put your money in the bank. But we know better than that because we're in crypto. We're never going to get rich off of a bank account, let's face it. And they don't want you in crypto because it's risky. What about the banking system? They lend money out. You don't even know where they're lending your money when you store it in there. And on top of that, they lend it out and get 6% while they give you less than 1% interest. Who would ever want to get into that? And especially when you could go into crypto and all of a sudden get 100x on your money. Janet Yellen says more bank bailouts are on the way. That may be the first thing she ever got right. Similar actions could be warranted if smaller institutions suffer deposit runs that pose the risk of contagion, she says. So what do you think is going to happen? These banks are going to stay risky. They're going to give out mortgages to people they know cannot afford it because they know if anything happens, the government will just step in and bail them out. I believe we're looking at 2008 on a much bigger level. The movement to establish a central bank digital currency is an attempt to surveil and control finances of Americans. It would violate privacy, limit consumer choice, and undermine market competitiveness. CBDC has no place in Florida, and we are proud to lead the fight against it. Yeah, so they're pushing all of this so that they can bring about a CBDC at some point. But Florida seems like they're not going to have it. So Florida's bill says it prohibits the use of federally sanctioned CBDC as money within Florida's Uniform Commercial Code, bans CBDCs issued by foreign government reserves and central banks, including China's digital yuan. CBDC threatens personal privacy, economic freedom through government-sanctioned surveillance, community financial institutions, fintech, innovation, access to goods and services by limiting purchases. And I feel that Florida is standing up and saying, listen, we already know what your game is. You're trying to kill off the current financial system and bring about CBDCs. But it's nice to see that one state is pushing back against it. I'm sure we're going to see other states do the same thing as time goes on. You have to destroy the existing financial system to introduce their new total control, digital ID, CBDC, social carbon credits, neo-feudalism. Most people will be the serfs and plebs category. Zero privacy, zero ownership, just slaves. And you see medieval feudalism and corporate feudalism. And most people are going to end up poor because they don't believe in crypto, which I believe, if look at it like this, crypto is tied to the new financial system that they're pushing for. So if that system was to get put in place and CBDCs were about to go live all throughout the world, who do you think is going to get rich off that? Me and you. That's why I'm always telling you, this is our one shot to get financial freedom. Because if not, you'll be on the universal basic monthly income and AI will take over your job. And you will, if you say anything that they don't like, they'll just shut your money off. That's why CBDCs are so dangerous. Crypto law founder faults the DOJ for continued prosecution of Ripple. Now, this is coming from Johnny Deaton. He says, the blockchain lawyer and founder of Crypto Law US, Johnny Deaton, has criticized the action of the Department of Justice in seeking to prosecute Ripple for following an order from a judge. Deaton compares this development to the government's attempt at creating a central bank digital currency that can lock users out of the financial system at will. We have out-of-control agencies. The government is starting to push a programmable, fully traceable CBDC that can lock you out of the financial system at will. Just when you think it can't get worse, you read DOJ lawyers want to option of prosecution for following a judge's order. So Johnny Deaton's, also saying, listen, they don't want people getting into Ripple. They don't want people into XRP. They want everybody under the CBDC system. And now it's starting to come into play in other areas of government as well. The SEC, the Department of Justice, and the list goes on and on. And I feel that everybody in the government right now is pushing for the same thing. Even Jerome Powell, I feel we should have got rid of the Fed a long time ago. But even though he's trying to say a CBDC is years away, we know better. We know he wants to get that up and running as soon as possible. Ripple CTO Joe Katz shares advice about his crypto-friendly insolvent bank. He added, so Schwartz tweeted that details about KYC policies or data about those who the crypto-friendly bank extended loans does not reveal why the bank went bankrupt and seems to have nothing to do with it whatsoever. With the SVB going bankrupt, he added, anyone who keeps uninsured funds on deposit with an insolvent bank is not a bright person, basically urging users to withdraw their money from the insolvent bank. And I believe anybody who deals with that bank, whatever happens going forward, that's on them. Because you see why this is happening. You know other banks are going to go down as well. If you're still keeping over $250,000 in the bank, then you're going to lose your money at some point. And I feel that the FDIC, even talking about bail-ins, we know those bail-ins are going to happen at some point. SEC sends Coinbase Wells notice, warning of potential federal securities laws violations. Now, this is going to be much bigger than the Ripple case. There's a lot of cryptos tied to Coinbase. And I feel that Coinbase now is going to be grasping for straws like Ripple did. And like, in other words, they're going to be looking for a way to win against the SEC. Or maybe they'll just settle out with the SEC at some point. But it's strange the way that everybody was not standing with Ripple early on in the lawsuit against the SEC. Then later they started filing amicus briefs in favor of Ripple. That's because if Ripple wins this case, in a moving forward basis, everything is going to be based on that case and what happened in that case. Instead of having a Howey test in the future, we'll have the Ripple test. XRP cryptocurrency jumps as investors hope Ripple will win the SEC legal battle. Now, the only thing I want to point out here is that Monica Long, the president of Ripple, told CNBC on Wednesday she is very hopeful about achieving a positive resolution to the SEC case, with an outcome expected sometime this year. So she's just hoping it ends this year. But I keep seeing people on crypto Twitter saying it's going to end in April now, but it was supposed to end in March. So what's going to happen if it doesn't end in April? Then all of a sudden we're going to hear definite conclusion to this case by the end of May. They need to stop putting a date on it. Just look at the facts around the case and see how close we are for it to end. Because this way you don't get people's hopes up. You know, I kept saying, I think it's going to wrap up before ISO goes live. That didn't happen. So now I'm kind of like, whenever it happens, sooner the better. Missouri CEO Ryan Selkis wants Ripple to win the SEC in its overreach lawsuit. So he used to always talk against Ripple. So American blockchain payments firm Ripple Labs Inc. just got a new supporter in the person of Missouri co-founder and CEO Ryan Selkis. Talking to his favorite communication channel, Selkis said that despite his prior criticism of Ripple for various reasons, he wants the firm to win against the U.S. SEC in its ongoing lawsuit. According to Selkis, the XRP SEC case is an overreaching one, aligning with other vocal critics that have been against the market regulator for going after crypto firms. Citing a thread from Missouri, Selkis said owning to the availability of demand, XRP ledgers should be afforded the opportunity to compete fairly on digital payments infrastructure globally. Now, I feel that they're holding back Ripple the SEC is holding back Ripple. I believe we would be much further ahead than we are. We're seeing a lot of growth happen. We've seen it happen last year. It's continuing this year. The XRP ledger is absolutely exploding. A lot of new growth all the time. But I believe we would have been further ahead if this case wouldn't have happened. But this case became one of the most important cases ever inside of crypto. I think the only thing that's going to outdo the Ripple versus SEC case is the SEC versus Coinbase case that's going to come. We are getting close. Jeremy Hogan. Ripple finally filed to void bankruptcy judge's decision. So Jeremy Hogan says we're getting close. So hopefully he's right. Hopefully it does end within the next month or so. And all I can tell you is the same thing I always tell you: stay patient and stay positive. We are going to get there. It's just a matter of time. You know, I always see people say on crypto Twitter, they always like to say, we're already rich. Now all you got to do is stay patient and wait for it to happen. And I always kind of live by that because, you know, it does take patience. You got to put away any negativity you have around XRP as well, because then you start getting consumed with that. You start looking at all the people fudding on XRP and you're like, maybe I was wrong. You should not question yourself. All the facts point to Ripple hitting high prices in the future. That's what you need to hold on to. You want that financial freedom? It's going to take some time, but we will get there together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up today's video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you watching my videos. This one was kind of lengthy. I got a little off course here and there, but I'm pretty sure I got what I wanted to say out there, because we see the banking system, we see how it's falling apart, and that's all leading to CBDCs, and we all know it, and we know that's going to enrich all of us as well. And there's no way the US is going to stop. They're going to get a CBDC at some point. How else are they going to compete with the rest of the world? But I appreciate all of you. We'll see you in the next video. Have a great night.